the film also is a retreat. It's got yoga, it's got outdoor activities. What was it like filming? Because you've got that balance, right? You've got horrible
Yoga,
horror.
balance.
Yeah, there
Nice.
we go. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass. Today I'm talking to Victorya Brandart, who plays Marie in The Institute, which is coming to DVD, digital, Blu-ray, and on demand on March 22nd, 2022. We're going to talk to her right now. And while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. All right, so thank you so much for joining me. This is Victorya Brandart, who plays Marie in The Institute, which is already out. It's out on DVD, Blu-ray, digital, and on demand. It came out on March 22nd, 2022. It is a psychological kind of horror thriller that deals with both relaxation and pregnancy. So two very different topics, but they come together in this film. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much, David.
Of course. So I guess the first question I always want to ask is, like, how'd you get involved in this movie? Had you been, had you worked with anyone before, or did this just kind of come across? You're like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll take that on.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting. The way that it did happen is when I moved to New York, I wanted to take a little bit of a break from the industry and started missing it, and went to some networking groups with people that loved film and produced films and acted. And that is where I met our director, Hamza, Zaman, and Chelsea, who is one of our producers as well. And they were talking about how they have this great script, and he's kind of sat on it, I believe, for a few years, and really, really wanted to make it a feature. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I actually have been producing shorts, and I really want to produce my first feature. And
Perfect.
yeah, it was fantastic the way that it happened. It was, our goals aligned. And then of course I, fell back into it. My role, playing Marie was an accident that should not have happened. I mean, I'm really glad it did, but that was not how it was planned.
Oh, so you really wanted to sign on as just producing, and then you just kind of like fell into the lead. That's amazing. That's I wish that happened to me. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
signed up for this part-time job, and they just hired me to run the company. So
Yeah, that's funny how you said it. Yeah, right. Yeah, I was actually gonna play one of the two lesbians, one of the lesbian couple.
Mhm. And then was it just that you became more interested in the film, or was it just like, hey, like we think you'd be great, why don't you take it on? Like, how did that transition happen, or was it just kind of natural as you all started planning? Like, we really need a leading person, and you're like, well, I guess I'll step up.
You know what? It was not that way. So we changed from union to non-union, and our lead actress was union.
Got it.
So when I did casting, I was, I'm like, okay, what should we do? And before I started casting her female lead, he said, well, why don't you read for her? Read for Marie. And I'm like, you sure? Yeah, let's do it. And it just happened.
Well, that is a happy accident, right? I guess that worked out pretty well for you
It
too.
really was, yeah.
And I just want to know these networking groups where filmmakers and actors, like, can you invite me to the next one so I can just kind of like sneak in there? Maybe I can start.
Of course.
Awesome.
You got to come to New York, though.
I will make that trip. That sounds like a fun experience. And so yeah, you mentioned Hamza. I talked to him also. He seems like a really great person. He seems like a really passionate person. He's also like a first-time filmmaker, and this is your first time producing. How did you kind of, was it easy to kind of put your trust in him, or was it something that you both kind of learned together to make this whole thing happen? Like, how was that like? Because I know you're both trying out for the first time. It must be exciting and frustrating and tiring, like everything all at once.
It was everything all at once. It absolutely was. I think really what kept me feeling comfortable about the whole process is knowing that we all have the same goal. We want to make sure that we have a career that is long term. That's really the point. That's the purpose of it, is to affect people in a way that you continue creating content. And I have to trust him. I trust my directors. When I make a commitment to trust my director, I trust them unless something, absolutely unacceptable happens. But yeah, it was a process where we kind of learned to trust. But I was open.
Very cool. And so one thing I was wondering is, like, so now when you signed on to become Marie, like that is a much bigger role than I think you originally signed on for, right? Like you signed on to be the producer. Now you have to kind of build out this character. Did you do anything to like build out this character of Marie to kind of get her backstory, I guess in your head, or kind of mentally prepare to play her? What was that process like?
Yeah, I definitely did have to do a lot a lot of planning because it's such a heavy subject. For me, it was a little easier and almost cathartic in a way because I have my own fertility issues, and that's something that I thought was strangely meant to be. It was a strange coincidence that Marie had those issues. And so it was a little easier for me to play her than maybe other actors would have it. But either way, it did take some prep work, to put myself in those situations.
Yeah, well, first off, I'm sorry to hear that, but also that is an interesting coincidence that, it is a very, like you say, difficult subject, heavy subject, and it's interesting that you kind of had that base to draw from when you're building out
Yeah.
this complicated character. Like it's almost like you already had that experience, so it was probably, I don't know, easier, quicker maybe to get into that role.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily have the experience yet,
Mhm.
of being with my husband and, trying actively, but I could only, that's really what separated Marie and I. And then I could really like, yeah, that's what I had to work on.
Yeah, and it's much more common than I think a lot of people realize. Like every time we have friends who are like, "Oh, we're thinking about having kids," we're like, "Start now," because you just have no idea like how long it could take and if there's going to be difficulties and things like that. So it is something
Crazy.
that is a lot more common than I think people want to talk about, and it's portrayed on film. So it is good to have these
Yeah.
characters out there.
I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I hope it can, at least be relatable in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been talking about some of the heavier subject matter in this film because the film does have some heavy subject matter, but the film also is a retreat. It's got yoga, it's got outdoor activities. What was it like filming? Because you got that balance, right? You've got horrible,
Yoga
horrible.
balance.
Yeah, there
Nice.
we go. Yeah, so I mean, was it were those scenes like fun to film? Was this relaxing, or was it just because you had so much on your plate, it was a different kind of work? Even though it looked enjoyable in the film, it was still kind of work for you.
I have to say that the stress was different when I was acting. The stress was still there because I was still producing it, but at the same time, I was urged by Hamza to just take my producer hat off and just chill out and focus on Marie, and that was a really good direction because I had to give her that. And I would kind of come out of it and he's like, focus on Marie. So doing those scenes was definitely fun for me. It was, I got to relax and not have to think about production. And the yoga scene was awesome. It was hilarious. A lot of what happened in that yoga scene, like that was all like there was nothing planned. Like it was all improv. Lois, like one of our actresses, like just fantastic. Like I think our cast was really hilarious during that scene.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I also love that Hamza was the yogi, because you have some directors who get
Yes.
hands on. He actually got like hands on because he's like, no, do it this way. So that was fun to
Yes,
see.
that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first watched it, I was like, oh, here's just like some strong buff looking man as eye candy. I was like, oh wait, that's the director as well. So
Great.
and I did like that Hamza told you to just kind of like take your producer hat off, because I've talked to other actors and directors who kind of wear both hats, like a director actor or a producer actor, and they say sometimes it's difficult to balance that, right? Because you have competing interests. The director wants to stay on budget and stay on schedule, but the actor wants like the best and most elaborate thing possible. So sometimes those two clash. So it's really good that you were able to just kind of like take that hat off and be the actor when you needed to, and then probably after all the scenes were done, go put your
Yeah.
producer hat on and just like stay up for
Yeah.
the
Oh
whole night.
yeah. Yeah. It was quite a challenge juggling that. Um, never went through that before. I don't know if I want to do it again in that way, not with a lead role.
That's also very common. I hear a lot of people say that it was a very good experience. It was very rewarding. I never want to do it again. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I have a feeling you'll probably do it again, though. I mean, I think
I know, me too. I was just thinking, I'm like, man, I'm gonna watch this and I will have known that I did it again.
there you go. I mean, you've already got one under your belt, right? It'll be easy. Second time's a charm.
Yes.
And so Hamza also said that like this film was, they basically rented out a summer camp for this film. So I mean, it must have been really cool to have that. But then did you have additional people come? Did you stay later after filming? Like, what was that like, just having this place to yourself? Or was it just basically like you were working and then when the film was done, you kind of had to either do more work for the film or move on to the next project?
No, after no, after this was a long process. Okay, we were indie filmmakers. Our budget was like micro budget. So it was so difficult that it took us just way too longer, like years longer, 2 years, 3 years. So it yeah, back to the camp. No, I left immediately after. So we were there like 2.5 weeks and I went back to LA, but we continued with our meetings for, another year or two.
So I was going to ask then, yeah, because since you're also a producer, a lot of times with actors, it's like, okay, that's done. And then it just kind of goes into the ether and maybe at some point it comes out, but you were, you were actively on it. So you were working on it for a year and a half after. How much longer did this film stay with you as you're the producer as well?
A year. It's been a year. We filmed it in, I believe, like it was Q4 of 2020, like right, like the year of COVID, right? But it was cool. That camp was good for COVID.
Yeah. Which, again, that also is it sounds like you probably took on more than you were planning. Was COVID a thing when you signed on for this, or was it something that hit and you just kind of had to figure out how to do this in this world of COVID and try to do it, figure out a new path and make this film?
Yeah, COVID was not around, right? I signed up for this literally a year before COVID started. So like a year before in March. Yeah.
That's well, you know what? I understand why you just wanted to go home after this was done, because that sounds like it must have been a rewarding but very, very stressful time.
It was exhausting.
Yeah. But again, like there's a lot of, I don't know, very fortuitous or interesting coincidences here, right? You're filming the summer camp, which is the perfect place for COVID. Your character is aligned with Marie in your history, so there's a lot of very interesting parallels that happened in this film.
Yeah, really. I think everything's meant to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's the case. I think Hamza was basically saying the same thing. He's like, we set out to make a movie. We had challenges. We still made the movie and got it done. So it sounds like everyone was really dedicated to this film.
Absolutely. We had to be. We committed to it. You're supposed to commit. When you have a team, you say you're going to commit. You commit. No matter how long it takes, no matter what happens, you just do what you sought out to do.
Yeah, for sure. And so now I know we have a little bit of time. I'd like to switch. I call it the lightning round. It's just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things that happened in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Sure.
First question is, your husband in the film had a go-to breakfast when you woke up not feeling great. I think it was an omelet. Do you have like a go-to breakfast that, I know, could be your everyday breakfast or maybe your like hangover breakfast? Do you have something that you make to make yourself feel better?
I love espresso, so I just have espresso. I don't really eat breakfast. I think I'll tell you what, when I had COVID about a month ago.
Oh, wow.
I ate, a month ago, I ate like truffle duck liver pate with truffle and honey, like for breakfast every week. Very random, I know, but I did it. So
was that like was that because maybe your taste buds were like out of alignment and so you needed something strong, or was it just like, did you get craving? Like, I'm trying to understand where this came from.
Like, why would you eat that? I don't know. It became like my addiction, and I noticed 4 days later, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, I've been eating this nonstop for 4 days every time I wake up. So like a hot, the spicy honey with it.
Yeah. Well, you survived, right? So maybe there's something to it. Maybe
yeah. It helps with get rid of COVID.
Yeah, you came out of it. You know what? Yeah, we all do weird things when we're sick, and that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll try it. Fingers crossed.
Try
If I get COVID, I'll try that out.
it.
Your character, we already mentioned the yoga scene. Do you do yoga as well, or was that
I just did yoga, like
Oh, good.
literally, like I just finished up 10 minutes ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get to this interview. So I just got done. Yes, I feel great. Oh my gosh, I love yoga.
Excellent. Yeah, I used to do it, not so much anymore. I'm a little less flexible, but I think I probably did start back up, seeing how
Yes.
happy everyone was in that scene.
Oh my gosh, so great. I know. I wasn't doing too well in that scene. I was like, man, everybody's gonna know that in real life I don't do yoga often. I'm like, oh man, but I just got back into it. So
Yeah. Well, you know what? Your characters were out there. You had other things to worry about in that film. So yoga, was kind of the least of your characters' concerns, right? They were all there to for other purposes.
yeah.
Um, Along the same lines, other than duck liver pate and yogurt, how do you take care of your like mind and body?
You know what? I think mental health is really, really important. I like going to meditation sessions or having guided sessions. I don't really do meditation on my own. It has to be like a group setting or like a recording but I think the best is when you have like a live person that is guiding you. I love that.
Oh, for sure. Were you able to actually do meditation while you were filming this film, or was there too much going on, like to actually shut your brain off? Because I imagine that must have been very difficult.
Too much going on. Yeah. I think, you know what? Yeah, now that you're saying that, that would have been wise. I think that would have, it's almost like it defragments your brain,
Mhm.
um, and it just resets you, and I think that would have been healthy. And thank you for saying that. I think that I'll definitely do that on the next set.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just it's something that I should probably do, like, because there's just so much going on, and it's nice to just kind of like sit back and like focus for a little bit, and then kind of like reset your balance, because it's like you're always like running from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And it's nice to just kind of like take a step back, like you said.
Just breathe, right?
Yeah, well, one can hope. Um, this movie had a lot of smoothies in it. When was your last smoothie?
Good question. I've been thinking about it for the past like 2 days. I actually don't even remember. How shameful is that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Were the smoothies in the film, were those like actual health smoothies, or were they just like different concoctions for effect? Like, were those actually were that actually edible?
Yes, they were. They were good. Yeah. Yeah. I was pretending and I'm like, no, it tasted really good. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Hamza did mention that he like focused on food. That was like the one thing he could provide for everyone to make sure everyone was happy about that. So that's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a good chef and the chef did a great job.
Awesome. The film also starts with your character taking some like herbal teas or herbal remedies to help with some pain. Do you take herbal remedies? Do you have any sort of like I don't know, teas or other types of supplements to help you out?
Ashwagandha helps with stress. Ashwagandha tea. Also, I don't know, there's an herb like that I got in a dropper that was customized for me out
Oh.
in New York for my acupuncturist. But I I looked it up online and I saw these bad reviews. I'm like, oh man, like what am I doing to myself?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's also an interesting parallel of what happened in the film, because the film, the herbal remedy, also had a bad
Oh
review.
my gosh. Yes, I didn't even think about that. That's funny. Oh,
Have you ever been part of like a medical study of some sort? Like I don't know what kind. If you could feel free not to answer as well. Like this is a very passable question, but just curious.
yeah, you know what? Um, yeah, I know HIPAA, right?
That's true.
No, it's interesting. Actually, I've never talked about this, but when I was, when I was 21, I remember I think I just drank too much and I went to the hospital one time. When you're young, you're just excited to drink. I didn't know my limits. So I went to the hospital and some people from UCI, from University of California, Irvine, they were doing a study on like young adults and like alcohol use. So they came up, they're like, hey, can we do a study with you? Or can you want to be part of the study? And I'm like, yeah, like I studied biology and I did a bunch of studies myself. And I'm like, you know what? It's hard to get, sample or people for sample size. So I was like, yeah, sure, like I'll be a subject. It was so annoying. They would call me very often and the students were not that professional. So it wasn't the best experience. Hopefully they got what they needed.
That's yeah, that sounds like that sounds like such a simple study. And then it sounds if they're not like, I don't know, if they're not professional, if they're being too pushy, yeah, like, I could see that going south. They call like, hey drunkie, are you there? Are you on
Yeah,
drunk now? Like,
call me nonstop. I'm like, I got so annoyed. I'm like, I don't drink anymore. That was one time. They're like,
yeah,
are you sure? How many drinks did you have this week? I'm like, I don't drink. Like, yeah.
you're
Oh
also
my
like, hey,
God.
it's Thursday at 10. Like, stop calling me.
Yeah. Oh, so funny.
So this film had the couples going to this idyllic, some parts were idyllic retreat. What would your ideal retreat include? Is there any like activity that you would definitely want to have on
Yeah.
there, or maybe a location that you would definitely want to go to?
Yeah, that is so cool that you asked me that because I was having a conversation about this last night.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, there's something it's called the Dharma Drum Retreat. Really cool. Basically meditation retreat. Meditation or silent retreats are my thing because I talk a lot. So silent retreat is good for me.
I would not do well at that. I mean, it's probably a good thing for me to try, but I
Yes,
would not
it's a good
last.
challenge. Yeah, it's a good challenge. I couldn't, but I was like, oh my gosh, I know I'm gonna have an accident. Like I'm gonna start speaking, and I didn't.
Oh, wow.
I didn't.
Was it like, I guess, were you like, did you have to think about it a lot, like for the first bit, and then afterwards it just kind of became natural not to talk, or was it something that you just kind of like jumped into easily? Like, what was that like?
It was easy because nobody was talking to anybody.
Does that make sense?
But communication, it's difficult to communicate with people without words. So I would want to say something, during our breaks, like when we were drinking water or something. But otherwise, we'd be meditating for like 4 hours,
Oh, wow.
like nonstop.
That sounds like you almost like you're in another world. That's amazing.
Amazing. Mhm.
Maybe this is the same answer. What is the most remote place you've ever gotten away to?
Ooh, remote place, aka like the probably Fiji,
Oh,
Tavarua. That
that's a
was
great location.
far. That was really that. Or India. I went to India. I did a film in India last year, right before COVID hit, and that took forever to get there.
Yeah, that's it's almost like a day of travel, isn't it, just to get
Oh
out
my
there?
God. Yes. Oh my gosh. It was the longest trip of my life. I'm like, oh my God, when am I getting home?
But must have been a cool experience, right? Like just being in that place.
So great. They have the best massages and they have like a oil hair, you know, treatment. Very cool.
Awesome. And so this film has, an idyllic place that turns south at some point. What has been your worst vacation or getaway experience, if you would like to share?
I like how you say if you would like to share. That's good.
Well, yeah, maybe all your vacations have been great. Like, who knows?
Maybe they've all been not great. Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows that too? Oh man, you know what? I'm trying to figure out if I've had a bad vacation. Probably the worst thing is not handling the jet lag well. I did have a vacation back to my home country it was like about 10 years ago, and I remember just sleeping for like 3 or 4 days, like nonstop. I missed out on a lot of events. So now I'm going to London tomorrow, so I need to figure out like, what am I going to do with the time zones so that I don't sleep through my vacation.
Yeah, for sure. I used to go to Japan occasionally, and I had the same thing. I would like get there and then like fall asleep at like 5 p.m. and then wake up at like 3 a.m. You're like, what is going on? Like, why?
No, that
Yeah.
sucks.
So I
Poor.
completely understand. Although London's only like 3 hours ahead, so it's still in the range of,
Yeah,
wouldn't be that
yeah,
big of a
that's
change.
well, I came from Cali, so
Ah.
I came here, stopped here, now I've adjusted to this. I'm going there, adjusting there, then coming back, and then going.
Your body's like, stop, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Awesome. So the film is already out. It came out on March 22nd, 2022. You were out promoting it, getting the word out. I know you have other projects coming up. I saw your IMDb that you still have a lot of projects in the Wix. So are there anything else you can talk about? Anything you can have people look forward to after they check you out in the Institute?
Yeah, so I am producing my second feature this summer, and I'm actually working with a Romanian director,
Oh, cool.
Michael Dolha, but it's so cool because I've never worked with a Romanian person, and there's some Romanian people that will be on our cast. But this is it's another like psychological thriller type, and it's about agoraphobia, and that is the fear of going outside.
Mhm.
So we'll be following this character through her, her situation and her fears.
That sounds exciting. And are you also acting in this? Is this you character, or are you just producing?
Oh my gosh, I know. I haven't I don't know, I haven't talked to him about that. And I was planning on just producing, but now that you brought it up, maybe I'll read for it.
I mean, you've done it once, right? You rip that Band-Aid off, it'll be easier the second time.
Maybe it will be.
Yeah.
Maybe it will.
Well, that's awesome. Looking forward to seeing that. And the Institute is out right now. You can check it out and check out Victorya Brandart, producer and star in the Institute, which is out on DVD, digital, Blu-ray on March 22nd, 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, David.
That was Victorya Brandart, who plays Marie in The Institute, which is coming to digital, DVD, Blu-ray, and on demand on March 22nd, 2022. It's a psychological thriller about pregnancy and relaxation. If you liked this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Please check out my other content. For this film specifically, I have an interview with the director and the producer and a review of it. But I also have other reviews, interviews, unboxing videos, and recommendations. Thank you.